तो ये जापान की कोई ताज़ा
I was asking if there's any news of Japan. Imam Sahib is saying that they're working very hard, and some people, some old people or handicapped people who are unable to apply in offices to get houses, they're going to their houses and they're helping them. Huzur is saying that Jazakallah, that's very good. Huzur is saying that it seems that some Japanese sympathetic people are also helping them, and they're helping them. Huzur is asking him if he spoke in Japanese language. Huzur is saying, if you had told me, I would have spoken in Japanese myself. Huzur is saying, teach me a little bit of a few sentences, and I'll tell them tomorrow or the day after.
आपने तो मुझे लिखा था कि मुझे अपनी तरफ से जापानी बोलनी नहीं आती, तो अब आप कह रहे हैं आप मेरी तरफ से भी जापानी बोल रहे हैं।
Huzur is saying that you're telling me that you didn't know Japanese that well. Huzur is saying that you were so humble, and you told me that you hardly knew any Japanese, but Mahfouz Sahib is saying you know very good Japanese language. He's saying that the more you speak, your usage of the word comes back into your mind.
हाँ? ठीक है, ठीक है। अच्छा जी। أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الذين قالوا إن الله عهد إلينا ألا نؤمن لرسول حتى يأتينا بقربان تأكله النار قل قد جاءكم رسل من قبلي بالبينات وبالذي قلتم فلما قتلتموهم إن كنتم صادقين.
Here Huzur is saying that because we are discussing miracles and the allegation raised by the Orientalists and others that no miracles were shown in Islam, so some parts of this were left. So Huzur is saying that I am going to take this issue up from where I left it yesterday, and during this time, Professor Abdul Salam Sahib was saying that please pray for him for his recovery. His brother Chaudhry Abdul Rashid Sahib, Muhammad Abdul Rashid Sahib, has said that yesterday you read a quotation of the Prophet Islam, and you said that there were 5 occasions at the time of the Holy Prophet Islam's wife, and when his life was saved, and I was saying that's true. The 5th one I haven't mentioned yet, which I shall mention now. He said we only mentioned 4. The Prophet ﷺ writes that the 5th occasion was an extremely dangerous occasion when Khusro Parvez, the king of Persia, had intended to murder the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and he sent some people, sent his soldiers to capture the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and it is very evident that the Holy Prophet ﷺ, being victorious over all his enemies, this is a proof of his truth. This is also another miracle of the Yasimuka Minan Nas, that Allah will save the Holy Prophet ﷺ from people. The fact of the incident was that in South Arabia, which was being ruled by Persia, and it was being governed by some Persian, and the governor sent 2 soldiers to the Holy Prophet ﷺ, And he said that my order from my king is that the person who has claimed prophethood, he should be captured and brought to me. So with this reason, you should come with me, you should come along with us. So the Arabs in those days were in such poor state that sometimes they would go to attack somewhere, and in a particular incident it says that they took 600,000 Arabians and they put rings in their shoulders, and the Arabs were completely helpless to fight against them, and the governor sent two people, and they thought these Arabs are in such a poor state, and as soon as they hear that somebody that they had come, they would immediately go along with them. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said to them, wait for a bit, and after that, within 2 or 3 days, as far as I remember, he was saying, during that time, Allah revealed to him that Khusro Parvez, who is the king, has been killed. And at this, the Holy Prophet ﷺ said to them that go back and tell them that my God has killed your God, so there is no need for me to go with you. And this news it arrived to them later on as to what had happened, because at that time obviously there was no telecommunication systems. So anyway, they returned back, and when they got back, then after a little while, the son of Khusro Parvez, who was himself the murderer of his father, and he killed him because of his atrocities. After he became he took the throne, he said that my father was extremely cruel, so everything that all of his commands and orders have been ended, have been finished, and these news were received afterwards. So this is another an amazing miracle, and one verse has been repeatedly come true, and this is the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned this very specifically, and because I had forgotten, I was saying that I'm grateful to Rashid Sahib that he has reminded me, and also it was also a good chance to pray for Professor Abdul Salam Sahib's prayer, and I was thinking that when we should mention request for prayers for him, but I used to forget that sometimes when Allah makes you forget something, then it has some advantages, and some things which were not in the mind, Allah gives us a chance to mention those as well. About Surah Rome, the chapter Rome, we were saying, I told you from my memory that it was Umar Zanho had done a bet with someone, perhaps or some idolaters who had bet with him that if this incident occurs in such and such a time as it says in these verses, then whatever the bet is, we'll give you the money, and if it doesn't happen, then you will give us the money. And then Umar Zanho, instead of saying 9 years, he gave less time. And one thing is proved for certain from references, as Hafiz Muzaffar Ahmad Sahib has sent them, it wasn't Hazrat Umar Zanho, it was Abu Bakr Zanho. And this incident is something I explained at that time as well, that I said that it's probably Hazrat Umar Zanho, but it wasn't Hazrat Umar Zanho, it was Abu Bakr Zanho. And apart from that, the other references that he has sent, some of them are from Tirmizi, some from Durr Mansur. Who's asking where the first one is? They're saying this is the recent one. And this is saying that he has sent some more authentic traditions from Tirmizi, and in the end he also sent Bayhaqi. They were saying that I don't know why a lot of people like sending things from Bayhaqi, and then other references of other traditions are also given. They were saying that I am intentionally, I do not wish to to speak about this, because as far as I'm concerned, this requires a lot of investigation, and we can find out as to when this, we can find out for certain as to when this incident happened, and so exactly when it happened. So to present something which has such contradiction within it, that there is a difference of several years in the incidents that are being mentioned. Some people say that the Sulh Hudaybiyah, which happened in the 6th year of Hijri, after migration, that's when Rome was able to regain its lost area. And as a Muslim, Azan said this happened at the occasion of the Battle of Badr. We were saying that these two references have a difference of 5 years. Someone had said another reference was already saying that the important thing is to see when the historical reference points towards. So until that happens, until we know for certain when these things happened in history, we need to know about them. We were saying that we have such a communication system now that we can find out from the Roman history as to what the incident was and when all these things occurred. When some people say that it was an area of Syria which the idolaters managed to take away from the Romans, and then whatever the Orientalists have written about that's also an interesting study, would be an interesting study. So when these things come to the forefront, become clarified and come to the forefront, then I shall explain them in some future dars. We're saying that I'm also grateful to Brigadier Abdul Wahab Sahib, because he has faxed me and reminded me that the incident of the moon, an incident similar to that, Carl Sagan has mentioned in his book The Cosmos. That's what he's saying. I remember now, I have this book, and Dr. Abdul Salam Sahib said to me that this is an interesting book, and Carl Sagan is his friend. He's quite a famous person, and I think he's probably a Nobel laureate, but in any case he's very famous, and he told me that I should read this book. So I was saying that I read that book, and in that I saw this incident first, but I didn't remember it during the dars as to where I saw this before, so I did not mention it. The incident is that in the 11th century, and on the moon, in England, some people saw a similar incident on the moon, occurring on the moon, and when the investigation was done, then according to Carl Sagan as well, it was a very authentic investigation. As we were saying, it wasn't present in my mind at the time, and Brigadier Abdul Wahab Sahib, mashallah, he sent me that reference, and I shall now present it to you. It is an historical account which may in fact describe an impact on the moon seen from the earth with the naked eye. On the evening of June 25th, 1178 AD, we will say this is the 12th century. It will be called the 12th century. 1178, 5 British monks reported something extraordinary, which was later recorded in the chronicles of Jervis of Canterbury, generally considered a reliable reporter on the political and cultural events of his time. After he had interviewed the eyewitnesses who asserted under oath the truth of their story, then he recorded them. Then after he took the witnesses and he swore oaths from them. Let me tell you the translation. He was translating it into Urdu. So we're saying that it's an historical incident is being reported, that from which we know that from the earth certain incidents which occurred on the moon were seen with the naked eye, and what impression does it give to the person who sees it with the naked eye as to what happened? This incident occurred in this way, that 5 priests bore witness to this. They saw something happening on the moon, and that incident will be told to you later on. And at that, Jervis, he carried out an investigation, and he was a trustworthy researcher who was used to collect witnesses on historical and cultural incidents and mentioned and used to record it in his book. So he took these oaths, and he said that he took oaths from extremely eminent people, and he has arrived at the conclusion that the incident that the 5 monks explained is accurate, and that's exactly what occurred. The incident is this: there was a bright new moon. As usual, in that phase, his horns were tilted towards the east. He says that it was a new moon, not of the first, but it was quite bright, and just as in the crescent phase, on both sides, the ends on the 2 sides are called horns. They faced the east. Suddenly, the upper horns split into the horn at the top. It got divided into 2. It got torn apart and divided into 2, as if one part of it became separated from the rest. From the midpoint of the division, a flaming torch sprang up, spewing out fire, hot coals, and sparks. And where the crack occurred, from there it appeared as if a lot of flames of fire spewed out, and with a lot of force, and it seemed as if also hot coals and sparks also came out of there and were coming out of the moon and going away.
The astronomers,
Darsul, Mulholland, and Ordelic Calamay have calculated that a lunar impact would produce a dust cloud rising off the surface of the moon with an appearance corresponding rather closely to the report of the Canterbury monks. The astronomers who are experts of this field, they say that if on the moon at that time a huge meteor may have fallen, then it could exactly be as these monks had described. So we're saying that this is in accordance with my deduction, and this is Allah's favor that I had, before I got this book, here in England, I had already explained this in a question and answer session, and I thought that as far as I'm concerned, that it could be possible that this could have occurred at this time. And he was saying that when I read this in Carl Sagan's book, I was very happy that a very respectable authority is saying that such an incident is possible, and these things that are now happening in this day and age, these are signs which are proving the truth of the Holy Prophet ﷺ and the Holy Quran, and this was predestined. It had to happen in this way, and Allah has enabled us to present these to the world with reference to the Holy Quran. The other people have done the research, but we have been given the capability to bring this to the people. There's a word which is saying that I couldn't find in the dictionary, neither in the pronunciation dictionary nor anywhere else. I've heard meteorologist, but for meteorologist, the word Wahab Sahib is written. I have not found that anywhere else. Either it's an unusual scientific term which Carl Sagan is used, or he has made a mistake in writing it. He says that the thing I can't even read it properly. The meteorologist. The thing I've heard meteoritic. That thing which has to do with the meteor, but meteorologist I've never found anywhere. But he says, he was saying that perhaps it means meteorologist. The meteorologist Jack Harton has pointed out that the very recent, very fresh-looking small crater with a prominent ray system lies exactly in the region of the moon referred to by the Canterbury monks. They said that they saw a crater, which the place where the Canterbury monks explained, and exactly that place that crater is present, and it also appears that and it means that it would have been within the past few hundred years, and with reference to the history of the age of the moon. It is called Giordano Bruno, of the 16th century Roman Catholic scholar who held there an infinity of worlds and that many are inhabited. He said that in the 16th century in Rome there was a scholar who used to believe that there are many worlds about from us, and in those worlds people live as well.
For this and other crimes, he was burned at the stakes in the year 1600. At that time, Europe was embroiled in such deep darkness that because he spoke that truth, which 1400 years ago the Holy Quran had first expressed, in this crime he was burnt alive. But there are also some such people who burnt alive, but they did not abandon the truth and they stayed firm on what they believed in. So this interesting reference has been sent by Abdul Wahab Sahib Brigadier. I'm grateful to him. In the Bible, the miracles that I mentioned, I have spoken about them quite a lot. There's some further references which I've kept aside. And today, when I was looking at my office, my table, I found them, but I don't think we need them now. So we might need them in the future. So put them to the side. He was saying that with reference to the discussion of miracles, there are many miracles associated with reference to the Holy Prophet ﷺ. They are found in authentic books, for example in Bukhari, and they have been reported from certain very trustworthy reporters, and also in some other books, Al-Khasail al-Kubra, etc. But I will not go into those references because there are many veils of doubt covering them. They were saying that I shall confine myself to the reports found in Bukhari, otherwise it will be difficult to make a distinguish as to whether or not these traditions are proven or whether they have been gathered 400 or 500 years afterwards, which people have made up. But those incidents which are certainly present in Bukhari, those I shall put before you, and then I'll then prove to you such miracles that occurred at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, which before and after, for the sake of they were not shown as a miracle towards the enemies, because such miracles are only to invigorate the faith of the believers, and they're not presented to the to the disbelievers.
वो तुम्हारे सामने कोई पेश नहीं की जाएंगी। हकीकी मौज़े जो अज़ीम शान हैं, जो आफाकी भी हैं, तुम्हारे इल्म
The Quran has taught us not to do this,
तुम्हें बताएंगे, और वो भी जब बताते हैं तुम
as a show. The Quran says that these other miracles shall be presented to you, which are of the prophecies, etc. They shall be presented before you. In this, one such miracle is that once Holy Prophet ﷺ was traveling, and the 130 people were with him, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ asked as to how much, if they had any food, and somebody had one sa of wheat, and it was needed, and then one sheep was bought from someone, which was cooked, and then it sufficed everyone. Huzur is saying that this is far more authentic than the ones that are found about Jesus. These are references. They were investigated very thoroughly, and Imam Bukhari's standard of research in this regard was extremely high compared to the ones that we find in the words of the Bible, or the reports in the Bible. This is in Kitab al-Atma, page 211. The other incident which I have explained, which is that of the moon splitting, is also in Sahih Bukhari, Kitab al-Manaqib, Bab al-Inshaq al-Qamar. Then at the hands of his companions, some miracles are also mentioned in Bukhari. Ansari relates that two Ansari gentlemen, Usaid bin Huzair and Abad bin Bashar, came from the Holy Prophet ﷺ's blessed presence, and he saw that before them there was a light, and when they became separated from each other, then their paths became separate, and the same light was going in front of them. When they became separate, the light divided into two as well. And Hazrat Sabit says, who says that Hazrat Anas, which has then been rated by Anas Zanho, that Usaid bin Huzair and another Ansari Hamad said that Sabit has informed me that Usaid and Abad were both with the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and when they went away from there, then Allah showed them this miracle. This light appearing and going in front of people, what's the truth of this? What is the science of this? We don't understand, but these witnesses are true, and they this bears testament to the verse of the Holy Quran, Nuruhum yas'a bayna aydihim, that their light shall walk in front of them. So that light to become real is not against any sunnah of Allah, any regular manner of Allah, and so therefore we'll have to accept it. About the same too, it is said that light that was shining in front of them, that they were shown, their staffs were lit up, and it was emanating from their staffs. Whether that happened or whether the light was going in front of them, was saying that I think that we should be satisfied on the incident mentioned in Bukhari. Another incredible miracle is in Bukhari. All the migrants and the Ansar were digging a ditch, and Hazrat Jabir Zanhu saw that the Holy Prophet ﷺ was extremely hungry, and he went to his wife and said that, have you got any food? She took a sa, I think barley, and there was a goat. But this incident occurred within Medina, and that was the other one in which the same sow and one goat was mentioned, that was in the outside Medina. So she was saying it must have been a big pot, because a whole goat's meat was cooked in it. So she then kneaded the dough and the barley, and he said she sent a message to the Holy Prophet ﷺ and told him to come with a few of his companions, and this was
तो खुद चंद सहाबा के साथ चले जाएं. अगर से दावत देने वाले ने चंद का ही कहा था.
It was the Holy Prophet ﷺ did not. It was beneath his glory and his dignity to only take a few of his companions. He made a general invitation to everyone, and because it seems that Allah had told him that something was there was some glad tidings. And just as in the Abu Huraira incident of the milk, he invited everyone because Allah must have told him something. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said that until I come, don't remove the lid from the pot. So the glad tidings have been given to the Holy Prophet ﷺ. So Jabir went home, and his wife started to scold him and curse him and said, "What have you done? I told you, you didn't even tell them the message. What am I going to do now?" They were saying that this is women are like this. They get worried. She said that he said, "What have I done wrong? I did exactly what you told me to do, and I didn't do anything wrong." The Holy Prophet ﷺ himself said it. We can't do anything about it. The Holy Prophet ﷺ came, and she presented the bread before him, the flour before him. The Holy Prophet ﷺ touched it with his saliva, and he prayed, and then he did the same with the pot of meat, and he prayed for its an increase in it, and over 1,000 people, about 1,000 people ate this, and it was not all of them ate heartily, and there was nothing less. Nothing was. Nobody was left hungry. So Uzur is saying that this is a very authentic tradition. Then there is another incident which speaks of 70 people. In this incident, the Abu Talha Razanhu realized from the Holy Prophet ﷺ's voice that he felt weak from excessive hunger. When he came home, he told his lady, Salim, Huzur saying that I'm not sure how to pronounce this because it doesn't have inflections on it, and it should have inflections on it. So we're saying that we don't usually pay attention to these things. People explain, so saying it should not just be left that people can just read as they want. You should make it. These things, these fine details should be added, and these pronunciations, etc., should be taken care of. Whatever it was, whatever her name was. Let us go further. She made some barley bread and sent it, wrapped in her scarf, and sent it to the Holy Prophet ﷺ. The Holy Prophet ﷺ was sat in the mosque with his companions. Anas, the Holy Prophet ﷺ said to him that, "Did Abu Talha send food with you?" The Holy Prophet ﷺ, he got up with his companions, and he went to the Abu Talha's home, and Anas told him, then he said to his wife that the Holy Prophet ﷺ is coming with a number of people, and we have nothing to feed them. The Holy Prophet ﷺ went with Abu Talha and said to Salam that whatever you have, bring it here. She brought that bread which she had sent with the Anas with command of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, they were crushed, and then they were some oil was poured over them, and then they were, which became like gravy, and then the Holy Prophet ﷺ would call 10 people at a time and feed them, and they would completely get satiated, and then they would go. So in this way 70 people were able to eat. Also there is some more other references found in Sahih Muslim of some belongings becoming a lot, and then in Sahih Bukhari again about Ashab Sufa, and that they had nothing to eat, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ ordered that four people should be taken by each person, and and some people should take 2 people. And in the Holy Prophet ﷺ, in this way he took 10 people, and the Bakr Zanhu took 3 people, and they went to Bakr Zanhu's house, and the Bakr Zanhu at the Holy Prophet ﷺ's home, and he read the Isha prayer, and then the people who had come, they said that Bakr Zanhu began to feed the people, and those people who used to eat, whenever they used to become emotional, it would get increased much more than before, and people would become completely satiated, and some more food would be left over afterwards at the end. So he's saying that this sheds light on the character of the Bakr Zanhu as well. So we're saying that people have assumed that they ate in the home of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. They stopped because when they became back, the Bakr Zanhu became angry and said, the Holy Prophet the Bakr Zanhu was said that he ate in the Holy Prophet ﷺ. He ate at the home of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, but when he came back, he said, I don't want to eat from here. And then when he saw that he saw this miracle that so many people were eating from the same food, so then he abandoned what he had said before, and he then ate the food, although before he said that he wouldn't eat. So he's saying that these are the Abu Bakr Zanhu is acting similarly to the Holy Prophet ﷺ, although not at the same grand level. Then he's saying there's another incident about drinking water from little bit of water increasing to a lot. In Sahih Bukhari, many incidents of the blessing of water, the water is increasing, is mentioned, and it's said about a blind man that he was given sight by Jesus. This is mentioned in Tirmidhi Kitab al-Dawat, a similar incident. A blind man came to the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and he spoke about his blindness, and he said that pray and pray that Allah listens to your prayer. So we're saying that in some other readings, this reference is saying that he became better. We're saying I'm not sure which one is correct as to whether he just prayed and left it there, or did it have the end result. But this possibility is definitely there, because Ali Zanho's eyes getting better is also proven from Bukhari. Hazrat Saad bin Abi Waqas, Hazrat Salma and Hazrat Sahel. There are three people saw that in the battle of Khaybar, when Hazrat Ali bin Abi Talib was cold, then it seemed that he had some problem in his eyes. And this was so severe that a gentleman, Salma bin Akub, had held him by his hand because he was unable to even open his eyes. The Holy Prophet ﷺ took his saliva and rubbed it on his eyes, and they immediately got better. And it appeared that as if his eyes never had any pain or any problem. In Bukhari, a child is mentioned who, when the mother said that she doesn't speak properly, the Holy Prophet ﷺ brought some water and rinsed his mouth and washed his hand, and he said, give this water to this child to drink. And she did it. That happened, and then the next year that child was completely better. When the woman came back, and in Bukhari it mentions that somebody's leg was broken and that became fixed, and somebody's madness was removed. In Sahih Bukhari, somebody's memory becoming excellent is also mentioned. Of Abu Hurairah Zanho, there is no other example. The most references are found. Abu Hurairah Zanho, everybody, there's so many of references from Abu Hurairah Zanho that people think that these references are always from Abu Hurairah Zanho. The people said to him that how come this happened? You're only there for 3 or 4 years, so how come you have so many references? He says that he said that because I was late, I became late. A Muslim late, then I made up for that by never leaving the mosque and always staying there, and because I remembered this is because the Holy Prophet ﷺ prayed for me. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said at one occasion that a person who spreads out his lap and he right now, then whatever I say, then they take his lap and hugs it to his bosom, then he will never forget what I say. This incredible memory that he had is also a miracle. Huzur is saying that the incident of Suraka's the camel being stuck, that is also in these in Sahih Bukhari. I think Huzur said these are all miracles, and these are all such, and despite being incredible miracles, they were never presented before the idolaters of Mecca as a proof of prophethood. This is also a greatness of the Holy Quran, that these things, although they are incredible things, but it is said that these are for us. We know that they are right, but we are not going to invite you to Islam because these things are happening. But such miracles are proof. They were proved at that time, and they'll be proved in the future as well, and no one can deny them. These such miracles, we know that they are true, but they have been explained about many people, and the history is full of such examples. So the incidents that are mentioned, as far as they're authentic, of them the most authentic ones, the ones that we should accept, are those of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. And from Bukhari there are many references which people have chosen, which people sent to me. I've only chosen a few, otherwise a lot of time will pass. They're saying that afterwards you can select traditions, and those authentic ones can be presented in the form of an essay or who were saying that we are sitting far away from that time, and in this day and age, the miracles of the Holy Prophet ﷺ becoming rejuvenated was required in this time. There were 1300 years had gone past, and people could have said that these are just stories, and we don't know whether these things actually occurred or not. But in our life, in our own lifetime, at the hand of the Prophet ﷺ, we saw such miracles which were witnessed by a whole party of companions, which is such people who were so righteous that we met them ourselves and we know that they were righteous and they were only spoke the truth and they were impossible for them to invent anything. So a few such miracles will say I shall present before you, so that with reference to the old Jesus, about whom many things were alleged, and other people then said that those are not trustworthy things. Many things were happened at the time. They were alleged towards Christ. In Peake's commentary, it says that there were a few Jews who believed in Jesus, and they had heard some stories about the previous prophets, so they invented some such stories about Jesus. And there were some pagans who used to be called Gentiles. They are outside the Jews. When they came into Christianity, they brought their Greek mythology, etc., the stories of Roman and Greek mythology with them, and then they said that Jesus did something similar, but this, they're all confused, but this history which has occurred before our very eyes, I'll give you some references of that. And in Surah Al-Mahdi, Mia Bashir Ahmed Sahib says that I heard an incident from my mother, that once my mother told me this incident, that once the Prophet ﷺ was walking around in the orchard and he went by a orange tree, and my mother says that I don't remember exactly as to whether she said it or someone else said it, that I want an orange, but it wasn't the weather of Malta of oranges, and there were no oranges in the tree. The Prophet ﷺ stretched out his hand, and an orange brought, and he had an orange in his hand from the tree, and that Ammajan, his mother, was the Prophet ﷺ's wife. She did not remember whether she said it or not, or whether it was someone else. But if Ammajan knew that it wasn't the time of oranges, it must have been a child who said this. When Mia Bashir Ahmed Sahib said that he told Mullah Sher Ali Sahib about this incident, and Mullah Sher Ali Sahib said that I have heard this myself from this second Khalifa of Hussein. He said that it was me who said this. I asked my father, that is the Prophet ﷺ, for an orange, and the Prophet ﷺ stretched out his hand and he had an orange. He got an orange from the tree. So it is saying that sometimes an adult doesn't really remember exactly, but the truth of the incident that Ahmadiyya Razan reported, this was proven by Hazrat Muslim Zanho and by Mullah Sher Ali Sahib, and he was saying that it was published in the time of during the life of the second Khalifa, and this was famous, and he never denied it. He was saying this is something incredible which doesn't happen every day, and the Jesus, who was the Messiah of Moses, and there's a interesting comparison with him. Jesus I had asked for a fig from a fig tree which was out of season, and it denied it, and Jesus cursed it, cursed the tree, and forever that tree died. But the Holy Prophet ﷺ's Messiah, he was to bring to life, and he was to show life, a hope of life for the future generation. So when he raised his hand towards a tree which does not have any fruit, then that hand was turned with the fruit in his hand. And that verse of the Prophet ﷺ is reminded to us that a spring has in this autumn time, springtime has come. Huzur is saying that whether you call this a visions, or you say that, and there sometimes there are visions in which a lot of people are included, whatever you think it means, but the witnesses are so certain that you cannot deny them, you must accept them. And in this day and age, such companions whom we all know, the people who are still alive today, who can all swear witness that these people were not false people who said these things. Hazrat Amma Jan was an embodiment of truthfulness. Even if for embellishment, she wouldn't even add the slightest bit of exaggeration to it. Once I wrote an essay about Amma Jan Zanha, then he was saying that the thing that affected me about her life was her truthfulness, and such truthfulness which had no self-desire in it at all. And she would say exactly what was right. And he was saying, I have never seen anyone like that, who is so completely truthful. The Muslim Miya Bashir Ahmed Sahib, other companions were also there, but sometimes when you say something, sometimes there is a joke, etc. And this is in human nature, which is not falsehood, but something is embellished. As Amma Jan never did this. She would only say exactly what the way something was. So this report of the Amma Jan is very, very authentic. And then on top of that, the Muslim Azan, whose report, they are saying that why were these two references required? And the Muslim Azan was so small at the time that he did not know that that I'm asking for something which is out of season. Otherwise, he would not have asked for it. So Amma Jan remembered that incident that was doubtful, because she wasn't sure whether she said it or some child said it. Because she was very careful, therefore she presented both these possibilities. But she bears witness that I saw this with my own eyes, that the orange came into the hand of the Prophet ﷺ. So the Holy Prophet ﷺ, who was a slave of the Prophet ﷺ, who was a slave of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, this is a miracle of being the slave of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, that he was given, that the miracle given to the Messiah of the Holy Prophet ﷺ was greater than the Messiah of Moses. So they were saying, how can they say that the Holy Prophet ﷺ did not show any miracles? They are still continuing at the hand of the slaves of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. The shadow of the cloud. We used to read about Moses, that wherever he used to go, he used to have a shadow of the cloud. Over him, there's an incident about the Prophet ﷺ. This is before he claimed, or before his appointment as the Messiah. The Prophet ﷺ was treated in this way by Allah, that once the Prophet ﷺ was going to Batala, and everyone used to pay for themselves, and a Hindu quickly gave his own money, and he sat on the side where it was shade, and on the other side it was a very strong sun. The Prophet ﷺ sat where the sun was shining, but a cloud appeared, and it shaded the Prophet ﷺ from all the way from Batala to Qadian for the whole time. And when he asked that when this incident occurred, Hazrat Ahmadiyya raised the Prophet said this, and I asked him what effect did it have on the Hindu. The Hindu felt that something strange has happened. So when he got off, he apologized, and he said he made a mistake. They were saying that Hindu is also becomes witness to it, and these and those witnesses that happened in the past, they are proven. The testament to the truth is given by repeating them in this stage. So these are the relationships of that the prophets have with each other, and they bear testament to the truth of each other. Who were saying that you must have heard about the incident of a ceiling falling off. This was mentioned by Mia Bashir Ahmad Sahib as well. Once the Prophet ﷺ was laying down on a roof and with other people as well, and he heard such voices from the noise from the pillars, etc. And he realized that the roof was about to fall, and the Prophet ﷺ woke the people who were around him and told them that this roof is about to fall. And they went back to sleep, and then again he woke them up, and again they went back to sleep, and again he woke them up, and then he said to them that you have to leave now. And the Prophet ﷺ made them all leave, and then he himself left at the end. And when the Prophet ﷺ was because he was certain that he would be saved, because he had been told, the Prophet ﷺ was still on the stairs when the roof fell in, caved in, and it made the second ceiling which is under it also fall in, where these people were sleeping, and the Prophet ﷺ was saved. As I think I've often told you about Murshid Zafar Ali Sahib, I was saying that about blessings in food. Let me tell you about another reference, which is Amma Jan Zanha, who was saying that people, all of us, a lot of people will bear witness to this, that it was completely free, devoid of any exaggeration. Once she made a little bit of pulao, which was only enough for the Prophet ﷺ, but on that day, Muhammad Khalid Sahib was saying it's the house which used to belong to Dr. Hashmatullah Sahib, where now Muhammad Ali Khan Sahib used to live there, and afterwards Nawab Hashmatullah Khan Sahib used to live there until partition. They were saying, and we often used to go there, because they were saying that I had a very close relation with them and with their children. A lot of us used to go there. A lot of us children used to go there. He was very kind, and we used to go for him for treatment. He was a doctor, so we used to enjoy going to his house. We used to go really fast and run to his house, and there him and his wife, they all came to our house. He was saying that this was Ammajan style. She used to call them, all of them, their wife and children, all came to our house, and Prophet ﷺ said, either this is the first wife. I was saying that when did Prophet Hazur's aunt get married? Hazur was saying, I've just remembered that it couldn't have been her. It must have been the first wife and her children. Must be Nawab Abdurrahman, Abdurrahim, etc. So whoever they were, they came to the house. And I said to the Prophet ﷺ, she said that I said that there was only a little bit of rice, I only made it for you. And at this, the Prophet ﷺ went to the rice, and he prayed over them and said, now distribute this rice in the name of Allah. And this rice had such amazing blessing in it, that all of the people who had come, they all had some of it. And other people's houses, they were also sent to other people's houses, and a lot of people came to our house, and they all heard that it was famous, that they were blessed. It was blessed rice, and a lot of people came to our house and they asked for the same rice. There was so much of it that they were able to distribute it for so many different people. This was received some reference, I think. They were saying it's not required. We were saying there's another incident with reference to sweet rice, which is called zarda, which is to do with some external. I guess me, Abdullah Sahib Sanori, relates that once the Prophet ﷺ invited some guests to dinner, and he prepared food for them in his home, and then exactly when the time of food came, the same amount of people, more people came, so the Masjid Mubarak became filled with guests. Hazrat Sahib said that more guests have come to send some more food. And this, his wife called the Prophet ﷺ and called him inside that there's only enough food for other people, but we could perhaps stretch the rest of the food, but the sweet rice is very small. Is very small amount. She said that she thought that perhaps we shouldn't even send the sweet sweet rice. The Prophet ﷺ said, "This is not right. Bring me the sweet rice." So he put his handkerchief on top of the rice, and then he put his hand under the rice and inserted his fingers inside it, and then he instructed her to give it to everyone, and then that same rice was distributed among everyone, and then still some was left behind. He was saying that these words are still there, some left behind. These words are often used. That that means this is not an exaggeration. This is to assure people that this is a special mercy of Allah, and a special mercy has descended from Allah. There was a lady called Lal Pari who was saying that we have also seen this witness. There was a lady, Lal Pari, who was a Pathan, who was a very pious lady and very prayerful, and she used to work very hard in Mia Bashir Wasam's house, and she used to, because our aunt was a Pathan lady, and she was also Pathan, so she often used to work in their house. She used to come to our house as well, and she has very interesting things. So saying, a lot of their children are all over the world. They are in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Germany, and Canada, etc. They're all very sincere people, and let us hear the incident. Once, she said that her eyes were felt so bad that they were, because of redness and the pain, she couldn't feel like she could open them, and her parents tried to attempted a lot of treatment, but it didn't work. And her mother used to put medicines into her eyes. As I was saying, in those days there used to be some those medicines at the time was extremely irritable, and they were saying that sometimes people used to grab a child and they used to put medicine in their eyes, like the caustic and stuff. And she was caught, and she said she could not bear the treatment anymore, and she ran to the Prophet ﷺ. She said that he will treat me, and she was crying, and her eyes were very irritable, and she was feeling very anxious, and she couldn't even open her eyes. When she went to the Prophet ﷺ, they were saying that she might have slightly opened her eyes to go there. They were saying my eyes used to hurt a lot when I was little as well, and when her eyes were hurting, and the Prophet ﷺ put some saliva on his fingers like he used to, and he paused for a moment, and perhaps he was praying at that time. I always say, and then with a lot of love he took his finger and he rubbed it on my eyes gently, and then he put his head on my head and said, little girl, go, and now you will never have this pain again. Her name was Ahmadiyya, And she said that, and she was 70 years old when she wrote this. She said after that, not a single day did my eyes ever hurt again. She was saying that I saw her in her to the end of her life, and not even one day was her eyes ever hurt. There was no illness that ever occurred on her in her eyes. So this proves that the previous miracles were also true, but they weren't for the opponents. They were to invigorate the faith of the people who were already believers, so that they would understand that there was someone who had a relationship with Allah, who was present among them, that Allah was all powerful, and this was in order to invigorate people's faith. Such miracles were shown to them. At an occasion, about Hafiz Nabi Bakhsh, doctor said that his cataract has gone for a while, and it will definitely definitely come in front of his eyes. He went to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, the Prophet ﷺ said that I will pray for you. And he said that the cataract that came in front of his eyes, they disappeared, and he never had a cataract again after that. And then with the miracle of prayers, Abdul Rahim Khan Sahib, about whom everybody was certain that there was no question of him being saved, and he was right at the end of his life. And when the Prophet ﷺ prayed, then nothing happened, and it appeared very clear that this has gone beyond the scope of prayer. Then the Prophet ﷺ said that I want to do intercession, and then Allah sent revealed the verse, that who can dare to intercede in Allah's for Allah. The Prophet ﷺ was shaken by this, and he started asking for forgiveness. And then Allah said, "Innaka antal majaz," that I am permitting you. And then the Prophet ﷺ did in intercession on his behalf, and then he sent the message and said that the child will be okay. And right at that time, the child became better. They were saying that I've seen him with my own eyes, and I used to speak to him, and he was friends with Mahmudullah Shah Sahib, and to the end, he was absolutely fine. He lived for a long time, and he bore children as well. And then the miracle of Abdul Karim, we all know about, that a mad dog bit him, and the illness returned. There was a place, Kasoli near Shimla, where there's a special hospital for this, and he was sent there. And from them, the Prophet ﷺ prayed, but nothing happened. And a telegram came from there which said, "Sorry, nothing can be done for Abdul Karim." And when this illness returns, then nothing can be done for that person. So then the Prophet ﷺ prayed, and he said that, "Oh Allah, you are all powerful, you can do anything you want." So then he was consoled, and said, the Prophet ﷺ said, it doesn't say what he said, but it does say, all the references say that the Prophet ﷺ, because he had already expressed that prayer would be accepted, and he did not give any credence to that telegram, because he knew that Allah was all powerful. And then those people were they were absolutely amazed, and they recorded this incident that this had never happened before. That someone who should have been bitten by a mad dog, a rabid dog, and the illness should come back, and he still lived afterwards. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. They were saying that he then he got better, and then he got married, and then he had children, and they live now in Hyderabad, Dakar, and they must be watching this now. When I mentioned about them before, they said that they are watching. So these are miracles that are being renewed, and they are being spread across the world, and the whole world is bearing witness to the fact that the Messiah was true. and those miracles are still seen in today, in this day and age. We are saying that now that the time for questions is here, so we shall talk about the other miracles of the Holy Quran tomorrow, inshallah. We were saying ask the questions. We were saying that half an hour of questions. If there isn't any, we were saying that because there are not many questions, perhaps we might finish them within a little while, in 10-15 minutes. Just telling someone to come before the microphone. We were saying there might be some questions from outside as well. With reference to miracles, he's saying that the increase of food and water, his question is with reference to this. He's saying that often science says that material cannot be made and neither can it be destroyed. So we're saying that both of these principles have been proven to be false according to science. They're saying that which era did you read your science in? They're saying you're still a scientist, you should know that this indestructibility of matter has been proven to be wrong, and many billions of dollars have been used, and in Italy and in America as well in other places such tunnels have been made where they're trying to investigate as to what the age of the proton is, when it would decay, and Professor Abdul Salam Sahib has also given it a certain time, and it is something like 10 raised to the power of 33 years or perhaps 34 years. Dr. Sahib is, as I said, when I last met Dr. Sahib, when I spoke about this issue, he said that it may well be that perhaps their investigation may prove what I'm saying to be correct, and that this he should win another Nobel Prize. But to say that matter cannot be destroyed, this has been proved wrong. And as far as saying that new material cannot be created, this has also been proven wrong. The research on subatomic particles, there are some of them, for example boson, etc., about which scientists say that they create their antiparticle by themselves automatically. As soon as one is made, another particle is created from nowhere. How far it is to be called a material because it's massless, we cannot say. That's a different question. But if the mass is so small that it's called massless, but as far as the being a part of matter, it is defined as matter. So, and then by the combination of those two, such two or three things, then other matters, other particles are made. So you can't say that the matter can't be created out of nothing. So the Allah who has made this system, it's well possible that he brings into play such laws of nature which we are unaware of. But the other is that of vision. That's the other aspect. Sometimes there are such visions, the effect of which appears in the literal sense, and those saying that I have proven this for reference to psychology, that is something that actually gives energy. So it is saying that in Czechoslovakia there were some experiments, and people actually weighed those patients who he had kept in a hypnotic state, and he gave them the impression that the cow that is giving the milk, that its power is being transferred towards you. So he said that after many nights, after experimenting for many nights, whenever he used to wake up from the hypnotic state, he would find himself invigorated and well fed, and used to feel that they have eaten and they were felt happy, and their power would not have become any less. But he said that he also he weighed them before and afterwards as well, and there was no loss in the weight. So saying that the scientists of these days, or the semi-scientists, if we may call them, So these people are trustworthy, and the same gentleman is now in Southern America, in California, somewhere in California, in Santiago or somewhere. He's a professor, he's moved there. I think whether he's alive or not, I don't know, but when a few years ago when I tried to contact him, I found out that he is a professor in that place, and he was alive to that point. But I was saying when I went there, he had gone on a visit somewhere else because he goes for lectures, so I couldn't meet him. So the people of California should try to find out, and they should see if he was alive, and then I would like to meet him again, and I would like to investigate this further. Now the witnesses that are coming before us, among them, we know that the feelings people have become so strong that sometimes facts are created out of it. Appears that facts are created out of them. There are some incidents which science does not really understand, but if this doesn't exist anyway, you can still regard them as a great vision. You can console your heart in whatever way you like. The incidents are so certain and authentic that they cannot be denied. Next question, Hazur said.
Dr. Hamidul Rahman Sahib is बैठे देख रहे होंगे हमारे बड़े मुखलिस फिदाई आदमी.
Dr. Hamidul Rahman Sahib must be watching. He is the Amir of Los Angeles. He could ask someone that in the west, in the eastern side of California, there was Dr. Reisel who had migrated from Czechoslovakia. Then Hazur said that if he's still alive, then those things which are not in his book, I would like to ask him, or such things that Hazur said I've read in other books about him because they're very important. So those things that I wish to find out from him myself. Hazur saying that they could mention this to him himself, but when I go, then if I get a chance to, I would like to meet him as well. Hazur, the next question is that Hazur mentioned the two Johns, and Hazur did not say the names of those places. Hazur saying that I have said I didn't remember it. This is what I said. Hazur saying that the island is called Patmos, so the two Johns are. Hazur saying that the Ahmadi ladies that are doing research. Among them, Mahadabus is finding out about John the Baptist, and she's done very good research. And for the first time, with her research, I found out that there is an island called Patmos, which is a barren island, and it's a rocky area, and there letters of someone called John the Baptist, John were written from there, but the graves are in a place called Ephesus, which is at a distance of 15-20 miles, which is on the mainland. So they're saying that you didn't give us the name of the island nor of its mainland. They're saying that the mainland is in the north west of Turkey, and Greece is nearby. So the sea that is nearby, this island is in the sea which is near that area. In those days in Turkey, there was a lot of Christians used to go to Turkey, and they used to give messages from there. So in any case, we were saying that the ships that used to travel, they used to stay near the shore. So it may well be that a ship may have sailed from Palestine, and it may have taken them there, and for a while, in order to conceal him, so that the Romans do not find out about him, that he is saved and this is where he lives. So he may have spent some time on the island as well, but eventually the graves are in any case found on Ephesus. Hazur is saying it is Ephesus.
E-P-H-E-S-U-S.
Who's been told the pronunciation, the spelling EPH, ESUS. There's another question as well. Nijawesab says, this is from North London. They say Huzur said something which he wishes to expound further. Those some prayers the prophets did, Allah has saved them in the Holy Quran. Did all prophets speak Arabic? Because we're saying the prophets are mentioned, they were to do with those areas which were Arab speaking areas, but about Moses, we cannot say that whether he was speaking Arabic, he used to speak Arabic or Hebrew, but often, usually people say that he used to speak Hebrew. As far as the saving of the prayer is concerned, the Holy Quran doesn't say that this is exactly when the same language that these things have been saved. Hebrew is a distorted form of Arabic, and it kept on getting distorted, and then it then got away from Arabic. Yet there's many similarities. They're saying that when we read Hebrew, then we find sometimes we find similar words in Arabic, and sometimes it is also possible that they're saying that, for example, if I say to Maha that I think this is Arabic, and she said this is not in my knowledge, but when you look at the dictionary, we find out that a very close Arabic word comes from it. So the real language is Arabic, and this is why the returning the Hebrew to Arabic is not something which is which could be recorded. They're saying that even if they spoke other languages, the Holy Quran would not have put it in Arabic, could not have put it in the same language, otherwise no one would have understood it. For Allah Himself, that means, must have translated those prayers. Those are saying in the time of Hazrat Salman Razanho, when Sabah is mentioned, Sheba is mentioned, when she read the letter, Annahu Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, they were saying that was an Arabic speaking area, and it was to do with southern Arabia. So there, perhaps the Arabic language was spoken, but it requires research. Wherever the Holy Quran has quoted, perhaps this may have been they may have been spoken in Hebrew, but Allah must have kept it in. I was saying that why keep it confined only to prayers? The Holy Quran mentions what Pharaoh did as well, and also the things that Pharaoh's one of his members of his family expressed as well. But Allah has recorded them in Arabic, so it's the same subject, but and more or less they said exactly this, that exactly what the Holy Quran says. And the other Major Sahib is asking another question, that the Holy Prophet ﷺ bringing the dead to life is in terms of the spiritual way, and the Christians normally say that grammatically we're saying that this is something which is a creation of an Ahmadi Maulvi. Christians don't even know such things. None of them say this. Must have been a Ahmadi Maulvi who has said this. Why don't you see that this is in my mind, that if someone says this, then what response we shall give them? They're saying the fact of the matter is that I said that this is a style of the Holy Quran. Everything which the Holy Quran speaks with old references is in order to mention their reality. Another word like it is used at another occasion, that one's eyes get to the point and you understand what must actually have been said. And this is why I said that at the time of Sulaiman al-Islam, the ants spoke, and then the birds, he knew the language of birds. And then about Messiah as well, it says the same, something similar about the birds. coming back. Sorry, saw some miracle to do with the birds, and the Holy Quran then says that there are people like you. So it's a metaphor. It's a very exalted method of mentioning the tales of old and the Holy Quran. While mentioning them, it also spreads light on their truth. And as far as the bringing to the life of the dead is not just mentioned in this place in the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran, when it most certainly says that no dead can be brought to life, and this is a sunnah of Allah in which there is no change. So what more do they need? So when the Messiah brought the dead back to life, and the Holy Quran also did that, and the question is that while that was so saying that it must therefore mean what is the solution to this in the Holy Quran. And if you take this reasoning forward, then you can say that this was used by the Holy Prophet ﷺ, the word ahya, that is, he brought things back to life, and it would mean that the Holy Prophet, that it's not bringing back to life is not in the literal sense, it meant in the spiritual sense. The Holy Quran is a very is got a deep relationship with each verse has a deep relationship with the other verses. The Holy Quran, for example, mentions the word nazul, to something for descent, and the Holy Quran has used it in different ways, and it is proven that in the spiritual world, when we speak about the word revelation, and then it means that somebody to be revealed, it means that something which is beneficial to descend from Allah. So the Quran is the only book which has apparently not made it into a proof, but at different places such things have been mentioned, and when we look at them, one is amazed and see that this is a sea of signs. So the Nuzul, or the descending revelation, revealed, is being used about iron, which comes from the earth, and also the four-legged animals, and so domesticated animals, that they descended, and then the water is mentioned, that's also descended. So these things are all extremely beneficial, and the greatest thing is that all the prophets have been at the exclusion of all the prophets, only the Holy Prophet ﷺ has been called Nazil, that is, he was revealed to you, which is he is an embodiment of the remembrance of Allah. So it's the Quranic style of reasoning, which has a very deep relationship with each other. So there's no need to find such principles. We're saying, is that it? We're saying, what about the killing of the prophets? It's another interesting thing has come to us when we mentioned Patmos. When they mentioned Patmos, then at that time I had brought another reference which has to do with that, but it's not been sent to me in this relationship, but in a different way. Abdul Sami Sahib Akhtar, who was saying, I'm not sure is it Akhtar or Akhtar, but whoever he is, Abdul Sami Sahib has sent me a very good reference about the killing of the prophets, with reference from the Prophet ﷺ, who was saying, when I said before that there is a possibility that John the Baptist may never have been killed, and he may have only an attempt may have been made on his life, and Allah may have saved him, and he may have then migrated to Ephesus and Patmos. And at that, I expressed one thing, that if the Prophet ﷺ, that if a tradition of the Holy Prophet ﷺ says that he was certainly killed, then we will withdraw our hand from this research, and if there is anything the Prophet ﷺ said, then we should also withdraw our hand from this. And that quotation where the Prophet ﷺ spoke of saying when Shaheed Barelvi, from that I deduced that there's not a claim that the Prophet ﷺ is saying that he was certainly killed, he was definitely killed. It was a known reference at the time, which impression of which was that he was killed. So I'm grateful to Abdul Sami Sahib that he has given me a reference of the Prophet Islam with this with reference to this subject, because the cross was for criminals, so it is beyond the beneath the greatness of the Prophet that he should be killed on the cross. Therefore, other diseases which are horrible diseases only suffered by horrible people, and prophets are saved from this. And if just to be killed, if it is not to do with these horrible things, then we cannot say it's impossible. But no prophet's killing, murder has been proven. If the Prophet ﷺ was certainly was mentioning that if he meant that John the Baptist was killed, then why would he have said this? Which means that that about John the Baptist there is a doubt that he may have been killed. And I also said that about Sayyid al-Shaheed also, people should research, carry out research and everything. As far as I can remember, I think I have read a book with references where some writer had said that this idea that Sayyid Ahmad Sahib was actually martyred, there is no firm proof of this. As the Sikhs had seized him, captured him, and then what happened to him, we're not certain about this. And this in itself, whatever result we arrive at, it will not spoil the deduction, because the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned about that he said with explaining the likeness between Sayyid Ahmad Shaheed and also and between him and John the Baptist, he said that they may have been killed. So from this respect, we're saying that we'll continue to carry out this research, and when this is completed, I'll present it to the Jamaat. We're saying, is there any other question? Dr. Mujib Sahib, and before him there's Rashid Sahib. We're saying these people are they have a right to ask questions. Chaudhry Abdul Rashid Sahib and Dr. Bashir Sahib. Dar Sahib, they're saying, are you called Dar Sahib? Dr. Bashir Dar Sahib. They're saying his brother Zafar Sahib, he doesn't like the word Dar. He says that he should be only called Dr. Zafar, and he writes his name Dar. Dr. Mujib Sahib is asking that about Ghulabat al-Rum. It was Abu Bakr Zanho that there was a bet, and that this would definitely happen. And he's saying that yes, the bet is not permitted, but it was like a gamble. Where gambling is not permitted, then bet comes under that. But the commentators who are giving this reference, they are also, some of them, right that this was when this was not the Muslims are not told not to gamble and to do bets. The next person is saying that Huzur mentioned the saliva, and why the Prophet ﷺ used the saliva, and why was this? Huzur said that in the saliva there are some treatment, and as I was saying, the research I have done in about saliva, it has very strong antiseptic things, although they're in very small quantities. But when we chew some food in our mouth and we mix it with the saliva, and this is something which is proven through research, that the saliva acts as an antiseptic, and different types of things that may be added to it, they are cleaned up before they enter the stomach. And also it's the the transfer of blessings from one body to another through some bodily transfer of fluid is done in this way, and he's saying spitting is something something disliked, but to rub saliva is a transfer of the blessings from one person to another. They're saying that now our so asking, saying that you're holding the Holy Quran with both hands. How will you scratch your ear while you're asking questions? Because this is his old style. People must have seen him that he starts to scratch one of his ears when he's asking a question. They're saying that with reference to verse 182. He said that you haven't told us what Aghniyā means. They're saying, what have I been saying? He's saying that I said that we are rich. He's saying that it is about arrogance. They're saying that what you are trying to say is that you have want to do some commentary, and you have done your commentary, and now you say that you also want to do some commentary. They're saying, yes, go ahead, comment on this. What do you think this commentary is going to be? He's saying that he's saying this is why I'm asking. He said, no, don't say ask, say I'm telling you. So he's saying that you are humbly saying asking, but you are actually telling us. He's saying that is this the Jews are saying it as in a with pride and arrogance. And those saying, yes, I've mentioned this before. If it hadn't been then I will tell you again that please make a note of it. They were arrogant. And then when it says in Allah ghaniyun antumul fuqara, there Allah has used the word ghani about himself, which can ghani also means samad, Allah Samad. He's saying that samad, one of the aspects of samad is in common with the meaning of ghani, and that aspect could be in view, but I think it definitely is. In fact, one of the meaning of ghani is rich, somebody who's got a lot of money, and one of the meanings in ghina is that somebody who is independent, who doesn't need, which means that Allah doesn't care what you say. So Wallahu ghaniyun has this meaning, and you have drawn attention to this. Is correct that Allah does not need anyone like you, and Allah doesn't care about things like this. You can say whatever you like, but you will not be able to change this fact that you are the ones who are poor and Allah is rich. Jazakallah. That today you have asked very good questions, very appropriate questions. They're saying the Bashir's dars is come. He has to do with yesterday's dars about Pharaoh, and where Huzur said that he was a spiritual death and a physical life, but the opposite was in the right of the Prophet Islam. Who was saying exactly what I've already said, that there are two possibilities of meanings. One is that the soul will not get salvation, but the body the body will become. So saying that everybody's bodies were saved in this regard. This could be one meaning, I said, and the other meaning I said, which was the Prophet Islam's meaning. The Prophet Islam has put the body in comparison to the soul, that the soul shall not have attained salvation, the body will. He's saying it's about his being hellbound or not hellbound. What Fuzat says that apparently he was a disbeliever, and he's saying that Moses was told to speak to Pharaoh gently, because eventually he will be able to, because Allah knows. Huzur saying that did Prophet ﷺ say this? The Prophet ﷺ said that Ibn Arabi writes this. The Prophet ﷺ is explaining his reference. The Prophet ﷺ did not criticize this, he did not reject it. Sometimes a reference is explained by the Prophet ﷺ, but he doesn't make the final decision about it. This is not just once, it happens so repeatedly. There are many old references the Prophet ﷺ has explained, and that Islam literature has this thing as well, but at that time he doesn't make a decision. This is also one of those, and the reason for that is that in another place the Prophet ﷺ has certainly proves that he regarded Pharaoh as being hell-bound, and he did not say that he attained salvation from hell. So not the whole subject may be mentioned in one place. The other references, or the Prophet ﷺ reference to Pharaoh in other places, we say that we can show them to you, and in those very clearly the Prophet ﷺ has regarded Pharaoh as being hell-bound, or the Holy Quran says. So how could it be that the Prophet ﷺ would have said that Pharaoh was saved from hell? We were saying that the commentators have said many different things. If Ibn Arabi has make a reduction, doesn't mean that we have to accept what he says. He's saying it's the same thing that. So saying that we don't have to obey Khizr, although we can say that he was a holy man who walked with us once. Is some phrase that Huzur said. Huzur saying that there may have been holy people, but we can't accept everything. Huzur saying that how can you accept this when Ibn Arabi regarded 5 Quranic verses as being abrogated? He's saying he doesn't know. He's saying, I'm telling you. And the Prophet ﷺ used to respect him a lot, and on this subject he declared that not a single iota of the Holy Quran is abrogated, and Ibn Arabi was the final scholar of religion who eventually reduced the verses, abrogated verses, through his reasoning, and he resolved most of them, but 5 he could not resolve. And the same, till the end, this is what he thought, that 5 of the Quran's verses are, in total there were 10 verses in which he cast doubt, and the Prophet ﷺ said that the people who used to say there were 500, they were reduced to 5, but there's no question of 5. Not a single dot of the Holy Quran is abrogated. So to prove from him that whatever he thought or whatever deduction he had made, it must be correct, this is wrong. Pharaoh cannot even dream of heaven, and he did things all the time throughout his life, and which made him hellbound. And then for Ibn Arabi to think that he was not hellbound, where did he go then? He must have gone to heaven. There is no third place, a permanent place for anyone. Is there any place that you know about where the Pharaoh should be kept on his own? There's no question of Pharaoh being going to heaven. He was a leader, one of the leaders of hellbound. He committed extreme atrocities, arrogant, and this is just an idea, an opinion of someone. He's saying that you mentioned Ramesses II yesterday, and Malik Sahib has written in his translation that he was the Pharaoh who guided him. Huzur saying that might be Malik Sahib's idea. They're saying that the research that I have done, I think that Ramesses II was the pharaoh in whose time this incident, they're saying that Minfata, he's saying that Minfata was the one who persecuted him. They're saying that how could he have come afterwards? They're saying that I don't know where you have written it. Minfata was before Ramesses. In the time of Minfata, probably Moses he's saying that he persecuted him. So he's saying that how could you push that into me? Who's always saying that people continue to do research after Malik Sahib's demise, and you are quoting it as if whatever Malik Sahib has written, I am bound by you're saying that you can listen to him if you want, or me, but I am saying that I have done research and my research is not certain. This is something which is continuing, and whenever such firm facts come to my come to my he's saying that it should be revised. So we're saying, how could we do that? So we're saying that, are you going to revise Ibn Arabi and or Suyuti Sahib? It's not. We cannot do any revisions. We cannot change anything of them. All we can do is we can annotate them, and we can write a number down, and we can take it to the back, and you say that as far as we are concerned, this translation is also possible, and this commentary is also possible, and we disagree with this commentary. This is an honest literary style, and the whole of Islamic literature is filled with this, that the real literature is not changed, but there's so many other commentaries are put in it. This actual book becomes much smaller than the commentaries. So we could do that. Malik Sahib has worked very hard. He was a very holy man, and he knew English very well, and we must admit to his services, but he was a human being, and knowledge does not stay in one place, it keeps changing. And in many places he made use of Muslim Azan's notes, and in some places, so saying that I am very humbly sometimes I disagree with Muslim Azan's notes. Khalwasi Awazan, who sometimes he mentions Khalwasi Awazan's notes, and he would disagree with them. Even Maulana Sarwar Shah Sahib, sometimes in some commentaries he used to disagree with some caliphs. So this is freedom of knowledge, and if you look at it from the point of view that you are saying that it will become very an ignorant task. So otherwise people who are ignorant, they can then put their own commentaries, write their own commentaries, and say whatever they like about the Holy Quran, and this cannot be permitted. But if there is a commentary, a point of commentary, then it should not be used. It should not be used as a propaganda against the Khalifa, but he can keep such a difference of opinion in his mind, and until his mind is consoled, he doesn't have to agree with everything that the Khalifa says, but if he does have a difference of opinion, just as a lot of ulama do, they must inform the Khalifa that this note of yours, I disagree to this extent, and these are my proofs. And some people write to me, and when I have time, I respond to them, and they write to me, and they become satisfied. And their explanation, that matter has been explained to them, and they have no difference left. They're saying that it is okay to disagree, but that is good. This is why the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, "Ikhtilafu ummati rahmatun," that the disagreement in my is mercy. This is not the difference that the evil ulama used to do. It says that tradition says that their ulama shall be the worst creatures upon the planet, under the firmament of the heavens, where the about the difference of opinion is mentioned. The ulama ummati is mentioned, that they are the ulama, the scholars of my ummah. So their disagreement is a source of mercy. So every difference that is for the sake of to promote such differences which are done with righteousness, they promote the truth and knowledge, and those that have excuses and they are for the sake of the people's pride and false sense of honor, then that is wrong and they are disordered. So those things that a lot of ulama have mentioned things very clearly in mosques openly, and Mia Bashir Sahab disagreed, Mia Ishaq Sahab used to disagree, and the promise the Isanis Anhu would smile and he would answer them. But if anyone was committing disorder, then they would be stopped. They would be commanded they should keep quiet. So the Khalifa knows Allah tells them when something is just a source of disorder, then they can make a decision about that. And when the decision is made, when they know that the difference of opinion is a difference. Huzur is saying that you always present such things, the difference of opinion, but I'm not upset about that. Huzur is saying that it's okay to have a difference, but it should not be used to tear the Jamaat apart. And the same is Muhammad Abdul Rashid Sahib as well, Hayat Sahib as well. There are many differences that they show me, and I listen to them, and I thank them, and I try to answer them. So with honesty and with righteousness, if you disagree with something the Khalifa is saying, it is not impermissible. But when the Khalifa makes a decision and to do with the Jamaat, and something which is to do with the Khalifa's responsibilities of caliphate, then to deny those is not at all permitted. And even if there are a difference of opinion, you should keep it in your minds, keep it in your hearts, and you should say to Allah that open our hearts or guide the Khalifa. And in that case, often Allah guides people, and sometimes today or tomorrow. And even in this Ramazan, he was saying that he received a letter. In fact, there were several letters. One was very clear that there are many things that you say I disagreed with, but I kept it in my mind and I kept praying to Allah. And now that you have begun the Dars, all of those matters have become resolved, and all the differences have gone out of my mind. So those people who show a difference of opinion through righteousness, then Allah makes them understand, resolves their issues. And if the Khalifa makes a mistake which has to do with his status, and it can have a bad effect on the Jamaat, then Allah sorts it out, Allah reforms it. And this is our historical proof of this, that Allah reforms it Himself. And because you are not, Khalid said that because you are not a guardian over the Khalifa, so only Allah is. So someone who is more powerful, he is continuously answerable to him. So if there is a mistake that I make which you are calling a mistake, and you don't think it's a mistake, then Allah will call me back to Him. Allah will not stop the caliphate, but Allah can call me back to Him. So saying these are possibilities which the Khalifa who presented, but in the hypocrites' hearts, to satisfy them and to stop their questions, to make them stop. This is a very good answer that he gave. That okay, if this is what you think, that what will happen to us, and we have a difference of opinion that the Khalifa won't listen to us, and we think it's very important. Then he said, okay, then pray and say to Allah that what kind of a Khalifa have you made for us, and if you are right, then Allah will call me back. And after that, what other doubt is there left? Is correct? Is it okay? Is it said? Do you think this last thing is that it's 1:30? Someone is saying something which is not heard.
नहीं डाइजेस्टिव के अलावा वो एंटीबायोटिक भी हैं.
Because they're saying apart from digestive, there are also antibiotics. So saying I've read this in a scientific magazine about saliva, that it's not just to make carbohydrates or sugar. It has many agents that have been found, have been discovered in saliva, which are antibiotic or antiseptic qualities. This is why that thing about which it says that the Holy Quran says is shifa, it's treatment. It is not just the nectar of flowers, it is mixed with the saliva of bees, and until it gets mixed with the saliva of the bees, it's when the bee regurgitates it, and until it turns into honey that way, then it cannot be called honey. So this saliva being in this